Don't Starve is a very popular game with a ton of different players spread all throughout the world. Many people enjoyed this game, and even today, there are still players picking up Don't Starve for the first time. I personally remember first opening up the game around 8 months ago, and I genuinely had a lot of fun just exploring and seeing what I could do. Unfortunately, I'm not really able to play all that much due to me owning the PC version and not being home very often. Now, it should seem quite obvious, but the main point of this video is Don't Starve's mobile edition. Why it's so underrated, how it compares to the Switch version, and whether or not you should or shouldn't get it. Anyways, I'm still quite new to script writing and the like, so if there are any problems with this video, I'd love to hear your feedback. The last Don't Starve video I made did exceptionally well, and the amount of feedback I got was truly astounding, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the support. Hey everyone, editing Purplex here. So, around a month ago, I posted a video completely bashing on this game, and you know what? I'm admitting it, I was wrong, and this whole video basically proves that, so I hope you enjoy. Lastly, I do now have a Discord server. I myself am fairly active on there, and if you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to join. Link is in the description and on my channel page. So anyways, with all that out the way, let's ask an important question. Why mobile? The mobile version of Don't Starve is incredibly fun, however it can seem quite redundant due to the existence of the Switch version. I mean, why play something on your phone if the Switch has it but practically better? Well, simply put, having Don't Starve on Switch is easier to play, while having it on phone is more practical to play. I mean, let's be honest, do you really bring your Switch with you to as much places as you bring your phone? And plus, controls out the way, the games are almost exactly the same. But, keyword, almost. Whilst this video is heavily in favor of the mobile version of the game, I still want this review to be unbiased as a whole. So, in this section, I'm going to cover basically every single negative about the game, and yes, I'm aware that this transition is trash, I don't know how to do them yet. Anyways, now let's talk about the bad. Sticking with the theme of talking about the two versions, Don't Starve Mobile comes with the Reign of Giants DLC pre-baked into it, which is inherently great, since the DLC really makes the game feel as a whole much more complete. The thing is, mobile only has the Reign of Giants DLC. Compare that to Switch, which has both Reign of Giants and Shipwrecked. And while yes, you can play Shipwrecked on mobile, it's a completely separate game. Unfortunately, I will only be covering the base game as I don't actually own Shipwrecked, but I imagine the controls and everything are quite similar or otherwise exactly the same. Speaking of which, oh my god, the controls! The controls in the mobile version are incredibly finicky and odd, especially for newer players. And while it is quite easy to get accustomed to them, it is still very annoying in the beginning stages. And some controls in general are just flat out bad. Take for example, dropping an item. I don't really need this, so let me just drop it and, what the heck? Hitting and fighting things in general are also quite annoying on mobile. Chasing butterflies especially sucks. Now, that isn't to say that the controls are completely terrible, as once you learn them, the gameplay is actually really solid and works incredibly well. It's more so the slight learning curve and getting used to them. Kiting, for example, is actually quite easy, but takes a while to pick up. Plus, even once you've completely learned the controls, dropping things, trying to get turfs, and rearranging your inventory are still going to be incredibly annoying to do. I remember once spending a good 5 minutes trying to get a pig skin into a little enclosure for a pig farm. That's when I decided to just break down the walls, place the pig skin, and get out. Speaking of placing things, it is a nightmare on this version. You could use your character to place things, since the building you want to place shows up in front of you whenever you try to place something down. But this barely works because every time you move your character, the building, or plant, you want to place magically teleports to the other side of your character. So why not use your finger instead? Well, imagine this. You're trying to get a perfect grid of buildings, so you get your finger and oh, great. I have no idea where I'm placing it now because my fat finger is blocking the screen. Honestly, placing structures or plants might just be the single most annoying thing to do on mobile. But anyways, enough with all the negatives. I'd say I've covered most, if not all of them already. But if I did miss any negatives about the game, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Alright, let's talk about the positives of this game, why it's so underrated, and why I personally play it so much despite its shortcomings. Oh my god, do I have a lisp again? As briefly mentioned earlier, Don't Starve Mobile is incredibly portable due to it literally just being on your phone. And because of that, it's able to be played and enjoyed in a ton of different scenarios. You can literally just pull out your phone, tap on the app, and start playing in less than a minute, anywhere. On the Switch, however, it takes much longer, and the Switch as a whole is much bulkier than a phone, meaning it isn't too easy to fit one in your pocket. Not to mention, the game itself is dirt cheap, with the Switch version costing upwards of around $20, depending on where you live, and the mobile version only costing around $5. Again, depending on where you live. Another thing is, since the game itself is actually quite small compared to other games such as Minecraft or Terraria, it actually consumes less battery life when you play it on mobile, meaning you can play the game for a very long time before needing to charge again. Yet, despite it being a small game, there's still tons of content as well as things to do within the game. Fighting is genuinely really fun because it always feels like you're at a disadvantage, mostly because of the controls, so killing anything is actually really satisfying and feels amazing. Touching on the controls, I know I mentioned them as a negative and a bit of a nuisance earlier, however it is incredibly easy to get used to them. It personally took me only 5 in-game days or so to actually learn the controls. Another thing is if you start playing Don't Starve on mobile, it immediately makes every other version of the game 10 times easier to play. This is because you already know the controls, and you had to deal with the annoyances of playing with them on the mobile version. Lastly, the game is smooth as hell on mobile. Whenever I play on the Switch, I notice a bit of lag. It's not a large amount, but it is definitely enough to be annoying. On mobile, it is buttery smooth. The controls, whilst annoying, do feel incredibly fluid and snappy. Overall, I'd say the actual gameplay experience is slightly better on mobile than on the Switch. Don't get me wrong, the controls aren't exactly the best, but like I've said before, once you're able to learn them, the game really opens up and you can start to have a ton of fun. Now, there is of course a huge difference between mobile and the other versions of the game. Whilst I've mainly talked about Switch and mobile exclusively, I'd like to shed some light onto the PC, Xbox, and PlayStation versions of the game, and the fundamental differences they have compared to the portable versions such as Switch and mobile. The biggest difference between playing on mobile compared to the other versions is simply how much opportunity and time you can get whilst playing. On mobile, you can open up the app at really any time, play for less than half a day, and still feel accomplished, even if all you had done is practically nothing and just gathered materials. The sense of progression is still there. On consoles and PC, however, you really have to sit down and play for a long time for progress to feel meaningful. Making it from the start of autumn to winter in one sitting is not uncommon when playing the other versions, since most people intentionally play for hours on end, yet despite that, the end feeling is the same. If I had to describe mobile progression, it would be quick 30-minute play sessions with decent progress. If I had to describe the other versions, it would be hour-long game sessions with tons of progress. There is a fundamental difference between the playstyles of mobile and the other versions. Mobile is incredibly relaxed, as it allows you to play casually for as long as you want and whenever you want, whereas consoles and PC encourage you to make time for it and play for as long as possible, trying to accomplish as much as you can in that amount of time. It's a serious grind, and yet despite that, I don't really see people playing on the worlds past day 100. Now, that isn't to say that you can't play mobile for hours and hours on end, or that you can't play the console versions for only 20 minutes, but that is just how gameplay tends to go. Alright, so funny story. I've actually been recording a Don't Starve Together video surviving my first ever year in the constant, and it's already at about 10 hours of footage. Each play session is roughly 2 hours long, and I've been surviving through almost an entire season every single time I play. I am currently on day 65, and the year ends at day 70. I want you to keep in mind that this has been going on since January of this year, with decently long breaks in between. Okay, well, you can go deal with the spiders. Well, a few weeks ago, I opened up Don't Starve Mobile and started a playthrough as WX. And you know how I mentioned playstyles earlier? Well, I chose the play mobile for hours and hours on end option, since I had a ton of free time and was simply bored. I also played a ton of Plants vs. Zombies Ultverse, but that is besides the point. By the way, highly recommend it. With all that playtime and easy access to the game, I made it all the way up to day 83 in a fairly short time span. Keep in mind, I was never on the game for more than around 15 days at a time, so those 83 days are mostly comprised of mini play sessions. The major difference? I actually want to play on my mobile world and not on my PC one. Keep in mind, I'm playing Don't Starve Together on PC, so if anything, there's even more content as well as even better character design there. And yet, despite all that, I constantly find myself playing the mobile version whenever I have any free time. Now, why is that? Well, funnily enough, I think this is due to you progressing a lot slower on mobile, especially as a newer player. I played mobile and PC practically the exact same way, and yet I still feel like there's more for me to do on my phone compared to PC. Speaking of the differences between playtimes, I'd say that longer play sessions are inherently better than shorter ones, as you set goals and make plans as to what to do next. Whereas on a shorter play session, you just kind of hop into the game and see what you can do. There isn't much of a plan, it's more of a spontaneous idea than anything. Thing is though, I find that way more fun. But hey, that's just my own personal opinion. I know that many people play this game differently, and this is just my point of view. Okay, whoa. The script for this video is getting uncomfortably long. How many words are we at now? 2,100. Oh my god, okay. I think I've covered just about everything, so let's end the video, shall we? Well, with that, I guess all I can really say about this game is, as the title states, it's criminally underrated. It's an amazing experience, and one that you can bring basically anywhere with you. If you're looking to try Don't Starve out for the first time, or just play a game for fun whenever you're bored, I could not recommend this game enough. It's not only incredible, but it's incredibly cheap too. And anyways, with that, that's the end. This video did take a while to work on, but in the end, I'd say I'm quite happy with how everything turned out. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya!